The 15-Point Plan is part of the Win, Make, Give podcast network.
Welcome to the 15-Point Plan podcast. Chad Hyams here with my regular co-host, Jillene Snell. Jillene, how are you today?
I'm doing good. I'm excited for our other person in the room.
There you go. We've got him. He's in the podcast studio here today to answer some questions that we've been asked, and we said, let's bring the man himself in. So please join me and Jillene in welcoming to the 15-Point Plan podcast, the founder of the 15-Point Plan, Ben Kinney. Ben, welcome to the room.
Insert fake clapping,
Yay.
please.
Or real.
Yay.
Or real,
Yay.
yeah. That's the size of my normal applause. Thank you.
There you go.
Keeping it consistent.
It's good to have you here. Good to have you joining us as we keep going through the 15-Point Plan. Jillene and I are going deeper and deeper into all of the different topics. Yet, Ben, there are some people who haven't been with us since episode 1. And maybe they didn't go back and listen to episode 1 and they haven't heard all of the episodes. So while we've got you in the room, I just want to go back to the beginning for you. Give us the history of the 15-Point Plan that you created.
Sure. I think anybody who's really honest with themselves understands that they have highs and lows of their life.
Mm-hmm.
True?
Sure.
Right?
Yep.
And our goal in life is not to eliminate the highs and lows, but it's to minimize how high and how low they are, because that stops the crashes and it stops the chaos in our lives.
Okay, great point.
So at some point, I sat back and said there had to be a recipe to how productive, happy, healthy, sane that I am. So I started making a list. Like, what are the things that I could do every single day that would ensure that more often than not, I had a good day?
Okay.
Some are simple.
Yep.
Hydration.
Yep.
Not skipping meals. A little bit of exercise. And the list grew and grew and grew. And it became a recipe for me being productive, or for me digging myself out of ruts, so to speak.
Yep.
But more than that, as Jillene and I grew our companies together, from time to time, I would run into a person that was having a hard time. This is everything from normal life hard times to more severe alcohol, divorce, depression, suicide, spouse issues, children issues, the kind of things that were debilitating. Is that the way you say that?
Sure. Yeah.
That stopped them from being able to produce at work and make a living. And I'm no counselor, and I don't have a degree in those sort of things, but all I have is an experience that says if I can redirect their energy, emotions, and attention to something else, most likely they're going to feel better. So I would sit down with these people, and it used to be just notes on my phone, and say, do me a favor, are you willing for the next couple of weeks to just do a few things to get out of this funk and get out of this struggle that you're in that's really seriously in my life helped me? And most of them said, yeah. I said, great, I'm going to give you a list. Now, what I found, Jillene, was that not every single day did people finish everything on the list. And not every single day did I get everything on the list. So it didn't mean I failed. So I started asking them, do me a favor, why don't you just count them up and give me the number that you got done every day? What I found was when people averaged, 12, they tend to be happier, more productive, less focused on drama or problems in their lives. When people started dropping below 10, they were falling back into the rut again. So if you added all the things up that I gave them on the list, guess how many there were?
15. Educated guess.
15.
We didn't even need Bob from the other podcast to do the math for us on that one.
So I started calling it my 15-point plan. And I think when you put a name to it, people tend to buy into it and they tend to believe it. Right? This is the 6-minute abs, or this is the, whatever those other programs might be. This is our program for being more productive and happy.
I'd love to ask you a question. The 15-point plan, when I first introduced that to someone, if it's in passing and I don't get to describe it to them in detail, often they feel like the 15 points seem overwhelming in their day. Like that's a lot to take on. So what do you say to those people, Ben? I know it takes some time to understand it, and of course this podcast series really helps with that. But help us break this down a little bit more simply, knowing that this doesn't have to consume a huge portion of our day, and yet it will give us a tremendous amount of energy to follow.
It kind of goes to the point of tracking things, because if you say, hey, no pressure, give it a try tomorrow, add up what you got, and send me a text. And at the end of the day, if they got 6, then that's your baseline. So you could say, why don't tomorrow, is there one of those things that you could add? Make a commitment to me that tomorrow we're going to hit a minimum of 7. And for them, they aren't going from 6 to 15. They're going from 6 to 7. And once they get to 7, what do you think we could add tomorrow? And you start incrementally moving them towards more happy and more healthy. And as you both teach all the time, there are definitely ways to get easy wins on the point scale.
Oh, yeah.
And to double dip a little
Yes,
bit.
we do.
Right?
Yep.
That you all teach all the time. So we understand that there are ways, once you start thinking about it, to get to that 13, 14, 15 point every single day.
Sure, I got a hobby of working out, so I'm hitting the gym, and it's a hobby of mine doing it. There's 2 check marks before I've even realized I'm awake yet
Yeah.
to get the day going, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of ways, and as you've said, we've been sharing over time. I'm going to tell you, the thing I love most about the 15-point plan, Ben, and this is me getting up on my soapbox, but I'm going to be politically correct on this box for once, because I'm not going to mention the other programs. There are other programs out there that people attempt to do to up their energy or to change their health or to whatever it might be, and they're not sustainable. The programs are truly built to give you a certain number of days of doing something really powerful, and then the sugar crash is coming. Like, you're going to fall off the wagon hard when you come off a lot of those programs. The 15-point plan is something that is sustainable. How long has it been since you've built it? And even though you might not sit there and fill out the score sheet yourself every day, how long have you been living by these lessons that you know when you see yourself dropping below 10 things, you're like, okay, now I know why I'm in this rut, or now I know what I need to do. How long have you been playing with and tracking the 15-point plan in your own life?
Probably over 10 years. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
completely sustainable.
I think the low point for me in career was probably the 2008 kind of economic crisis.
Yep.
And it took us through like a 2-year roller coaster of good times and bad times. And you found that money issues roll over into personal issues, and personal issues rolling over to relationship issues and health issues, and they all kind of come together.
Yep.
So that was probably the point when I started saying I need to find a way to dig myself out of ruts.
Okay.
And Chad, and self-admittedly, I did some of those programs.
Other programs that we won't mention.
Other programs, unnamed. And it was actually when the pandemic hit a couple years ago, I finally listened to Ben and said, after 2 weeks of Ben probably not hearing from me and me being in my basement, I said, I've got to make a change. I don't even recognize myself. And Ben, we just talked about a statistic that in America, as of the last year, depression and anxiety rates have risen to over 32%. Was it 32 or 38?
It was 32%, because 1 out of every 3 people was depressed.
Mm-hmm. And so when I implemented this and said, hey, I'm committed to finding my baseline and then adding to it, it really made an impact. And then, of course, later we became a podcast because of the experience that we've all had together and knowing that this works and is sustainable. It's not just a fad.
Well, it became something we talked about all the time, and we had to continue to re-talk about it and reteach it. And then each one of those points needed more deeper diving. So I was excited when both of you decided to say, hey, we want to take on this challenge and dive into these topics and find science and find stats and find people to talk about each one of these 15 points so that we can all kind of expand our mind on being happier, healthier, wealthier, friendlier, right?
Yeah. Well, health and energy levels and happiness that come from the 15-point plan. I'm going to put you on the spot. You know I do this to you all the time. Which one's the toughest for you to be able to check off? Which is the one that you have to put effort to say, I'm going to hit all 15 today, and I know this one's usually a challenge? Is there one of them more than the other that stands out, or is it something that, depending on kind of the season of life you're in, right now it's this and then it's that? And
Oh, I think they're all challenging. especially if you don't build a bunker around your life to make it easier.
Okay.
Like I have bottles of water in my office, in my house, in my car. It makes it easier for me to hydrate because they're around me all the time. I got one on my desk right now. I just naturally grab it.
Yep.
Right? Not skipping meals becomes easier when you build bunkers around your life and you have jerky or protein bars or shakes or snacks or oatmeal or whatever it is available.
Mm-hmm.
It just kind of makes it easier.
Okay.
Probably the obvious one for me would most likely be exercise because you put in so many hours in a day.
Yep.
Right? And we all tend to prioritize one thing over the other, and that would probably be the thing that I'm the least consistent at.
Which is why half of your meetings are walks outside, because then you're able to accomplish the exercise check mark while doing it. Doesn't mean you have to exercise at the level Jillene and I like to talk about for exercise. To you, going for that 5-mile walk is exercise for you.
Absolutely.
That's why we call it movement on the updated 15-point plan, not exercise.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the last one that I struggle with a lot, I read a lot, I journal a lot, I give gratitude a lot. Like those ones are probably more natural for me.
Yep.
Sleep is one that I struggle with.
Okay.
Just don't sleep very well.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have some podcast episodes around that.
Absolutely.
What about hobbies for you? Do you find it challenging to do a hobby every single day?
That's always a question of the group. And what are a few of those hobbies?
No, I find it relatively easy. In fact, 2 days ago, I've started a passion around old cars, mostly broken down ones. So the other day I had hours of calls to do, but I didn't have to be on Zoom. So I went over to the garage and I put on my AirPods and I did these coaching mentorship calls, and I was literally laying underneath a broken down Mustang, jacking it up, listening to these people and having that conversation. I find ways sometimes to double dip, right? Continue my work, but be doing something that I enjoy. And when I'm not working on one of those broken down cars, I might be reading about them. And for me, that's part of my hobby. Or there's lots of other things that I super enjoy.
And then you're double dipping. You're getting your reading while you're getting your hobby, because you're reading about the hobby.
I saw some people ice fishing last weekend, which took me down this whole journey of researching ice fishing, and I really want to go. So I bought one of these like 30-inch poles, like super small, right? The little cute ones.
Yep.
So I'm going to try ice fishing. So I see something that gets me to not think about work, and I'll go dig into it and get excited about it. And my interest may wane over time, and I'll go find something else.
What I took from that is it's not actually being in the moment always doing the hobby. It's the researching and the fun of the research and the YouTube videos and the books that that is part of the hobby experience. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. We're starting a car club right now, a classic car club. And we just came with a whole bunch of us buddies. We're going to get swag. Anybody wants to join the classic car club, reach out to us. It's going to be called the Broken Motor Car Club, because most of our cars are all broken at any given time and we get towed all the time. Okay. So I'm also taking a hobby and then forcing it to be a way for me to socialize with people I really care about that are not necessarily in my work circle. Mm-hmm. So it forces me to find time and spend time with these individuals talking about something other than work. And I think that's really healthy for a health decision for me, is to find things where I'm not thinking or talking about work. Because otherwise it consumes me.
You get into the influences as well, because you're bringing in different people that you're bringing into your influential world.
Yeah.
And can I just note, and I might be stating the obvious, that a lot of people ask how Ben does it. How does he fit it all into one day? The 15-point plan and, everything else on your plate. And I heard so many things where you are capturing multiple things in one moment, and you're finding ways to combine them really effectively. So I think if we have awareness of what those things are and what we can do, we can build it into our daily life. Yeah. I think it's just it's becoming aware, and I hope people hear that from what you said.
Yeah, like we talked about this morning, I had a meeting with a friend who also runs a nonprofit, and her and I went for 3-4 mile walk while we talked. I brought a gigantic bottle of water with me. My goal was to finish the water before I was done, right? So I got some exercise. I got some friend time. Yep. I got some hydration. I got a little bit of a break from work because I wasn't thinking about my problems. I was more thinking about her problem of solving homelessness for mostly single moms and kids, right? I got a lot of points just in that single session.
I'm sure there was some gratitude thrown in there as well. And of course, it's part of your service is giving to them. So put you in that position.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but would you say that someone could gamify this? Like gamify the efficiency of their time in their
Oh, yeah.
day.
Yeah. I think you could definitely come up with a way to say how many points at once could I get?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. I'm working on my health goals while doing my workout. I've got my water during my workout. I've taken my supplements that go along with my workout.
Listening to a podcast.
I'm listening to something while I'm working out that's making me laugh and or learn, depending on what I'm doing. And it's a hobby of mine. I just checked off like, what, 7?
Yeah.
Just by doing my
Yeah.
workout in the morning and following my thing. So you're right. You can start to sit here and say, how do I bring all of these together? Now, we talked at the beginning of this episode, Ben, about the importance of tracking these things, right? It's not, can you get 15? So those of you out there going, nope, I'm out. It's, can you get one more? Can you just get towards 15? Yes, ultimately the goal is to get 15. Yet if they're getting 5, okay, great. Now let's get 6 regularly. Then let's get 7 regularly and work our way up. Yet you didn't just have people texting you the first score, which was how many of the 15 points you got. You had people texting you their happiness level. And that's probably one of the things I find in our Facebook group, if you join the Facebook group, which is 15-Point Plan for Life. So if you want some accountability, find the Facebook group, 15-Point Plan for Life. Come on in. People are posting there all the time how they did. And one of the things that confuses a new person is they show up and they're like, wait, how did somebody get 15 out of 10? How did somebody get 14 out of 8? I don't understand how they're doing it. And that's because the first number is how many things you got. But the second number was that happiness scale. Talk about that second number, how you helped people even judge that. How do I know if I'm a 6 or a 4 or a 10 when it comes to happy? Why did you add that piece to it? Talk about that secondary number.
So overall, the 15-point plan dictates that you should track on a daily basis how many of the 15 points you got.
Okay.
For me, remember, I'm always trying to be post 12, higher than 12.
Yep.
Okay. Now, the other thing that we asked is just write down how happy you were that day. And in one day, it doesn't matter. And in 2 days, it doesn't matter. And it actually doesn't matter if you put a 6 or an 8 or a 10 or a 5, because it's entirely up to you. How happy do you feel that day? Now, what happens over time, if you stick to this, let's say for 90 days, you'll be able to correlate your happiness to how many points you were getting the previous day, that day, or the days prior. What you find is that at the end of the day, if you say today was a happiness level of 4, and you realize that you skipped your meals, you didn't hydrate, you didn't exercise, you got no alone time, you can start making connections in your head to why it is that you weren't happy that day. And you can actually start seeing as your happiness trails down that most likely your points are trailing down and you might want to make a change. The whole point of it is to register in your brain why you were happy during that points of really high happiness and why you were so productive during those times of really high points. But it only matters over time if you track it, because then you'll start seeing the trends.
Got it.
Right. And that's what the 15-point plan tracker is really good for, because it's hard to capture that in one day, like you said. You won't notice your trends in one day. But if you look at just the one sheet that tracks every day for 30 days, I track in a different form. And, I kind of want to go back to this for at least a month to see what those trends look like. And anyone can download this from the website. So that would be a good place to do it.
Yeah, 15pointplan.com. You can download the tracker. It's right there for you anytime you need a new copy of it if you didn't make copies yourself. All right, Ben, I love the program. That's why I was so happy to join Jillene and be able to have this opportunity to share it with everybody. The thing I love about it, Jillene, I'm going to ask you what the number one thing you love about it is while we've got Ben here to give him a little gratitude. The thing I love about it, I already mentioned, it's sustainable. So I want the audience to hear that. This isn't some program that within 75 days, you're going to be doing something that then you're going to crash when you're done. Not that I'm mentioning any other programs. This is something sustainable. Ben told you he's been doing it basically for 10 years already. The goal not being to hit 15 every day. And we're not angry at you if you don't hit 15. And we don't tell you got to start over if you don't hit 15. We're saying, hey, just be aware why you only got 7 today. Be aware of what could you do tomorrow to get over that 12 number that Ben kind of set as a benchmark that says, under 10, you're probably starting to feel the ruts. over 12, you're probably starting to feel that energy and the happiness that comes from it. So I love that you built something, Ben, that has become so sustainable that 10 years later, you can still be doing it. And I look forward to celebrating the 15th anniversary of the 15-point plan. Jillene, what's your favorite thing when it comes to the 15-point plan?
Well, first, I agree with you. I don't
What?
like diets.
That never happens.
Wait, we're recording this. I don't like diets, like the 30-day diet or the fads.
Yep.
It's never been me. I'm like, hey, I can't keep that going. And
Right.
so agreed, Chad, that this is definitely sustainable. And that's one of the things that I love about it. But I also label myself like a lover and a liver of life. Hence why I went to Kenya this month.
Yep.
And to do that and to live big, I truly have to have the energy to do that. You have to have a lot of energy to manage, the business and the family and then living life and just those experiences. And I love the energy that this gives me to go and do that.
All right. So, Ben, on behalf of the audience of the 15-point plan, Jillene and I will give you a little gratitude right here for creating the program, because I know you normally wouldn't have accepted it. So now you don't have a choice because we did it anyway. Tell us the last message you want to leave with anybody listening to this episode, learning about the 15-point plan. Maybe they've been following it for years because you've had them on it. Maybe they're a regular in our Facebook group. Maybe they're just new. Maybe someone just shared this episode with them and they're hearing about the 15-point plan for the first time. What's the message you want to leave everybody with?
Give it a try. You owe it to yourself to stop the highs and lows from your life and to, over time, continually to be happier and healthier and more productive. We want to live the very best possible life. So just give it a try. It doesn't have to be our system. You can find a different one. They probably suck, by the way. But try ours. Give it a month. Give it 90 days and see if it makes a difference. And then eventually you're going to trail off and you're going to forget about it and you're going to stop doing it. And then when you get in a rut again, remind yourself and go back and try it again.
It's a nice safety net to be able to come back to and not feel badly about it. It's like that friend that'll always be there waiting for you. All right. We appreciate you joining us on the episode today, Ben, and sharing about the 15-point plan. Jillene and I are going to get back to it. And boy, folks, we got some work to do for you in the background. We got some exciting stuff coming from 15-point plan that we can't wait to share with you. We hope this episode ups your energy and takes you to the next level.